Welcome. Welcome to International Data Week 2025. We're thrilled to have you joining us in Brisbane, Australia, and online. I'm Rosie Hicks. I'm the Chief Executive of the Australian Research Data Commons, the host of this meeting. But, of course, this is a meeting that is shared with the World Data System, the Research Data Alliance, and CODATA, all of whom are represented here in force today. So welcome to everyone. So in Australia, it's customary to begin meetings, events, gatherings with an acknowledgement of country, a verbal statement that recognises and pays respect to the Indigenous people who are the traditional custodians of the land on where the event is taking place. A welcome to country by traditional owners or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who have given permission from the traditional owners to welcome visitors to their country is also something that we seek to do. So for me, where I work and live is on the lands of the Gumbengia. And in their local language, I say to you, Ginagay, hello. Taking the time to acknowledge country, or a welcome to country sometimes, at an event reminds us that every day we live, work and dream on the lands of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. So it's incredibly important that this morning we pause to acknowledge the Turrbal and Jagera people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend those respects to all Indigenous peoples who are present with us, whether in the room or online today. One of the other things that I need to do this morning is to acknowledge the sponsors who really, without this event, one of the key groups would not be possible. By the way, the most important group is you, but notwithstanding that, our sponsors. So, the Moreton Island sponsor, Frontiers, the Kangaroo Point sponsors, Amazon Web Services, the Queensland University of Technology Centre for Data Science. The Lone Pine sponsors, Architecta and Wasabi. The Digital Curation Centre, the Digital Alliance of Canada, Digital Science, Intersect, the National Research Infrastructure for Australia, or NCRIS, QCIF Digital Research, Sempre, and TIND. Our Wi-Fi sponsor, ARNet, our educational sponsor, University of Technology Sydney, and our regional delegate sponsor, the Australian Academy of Science. But for the next item on this morning's agenda, it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome Professor Tony Haymet, the Australian Chief Scientist, to address us. So Professor Haymet is an Emeritus Distinguished Professor of Oceanography. He's researched and taught for many years in Australia and the United States, including as an established chair of theoretical chemistry at the University of Sydney, a fellow of the Australian Academy of Technological Sciences and Engineering, ATSE, and the Royal Australian Chemical Institute. As Australia's Chief Scientist, he's a member of the Climate Change Authority Board and the National Data Advisory Council. Now, I've had the opportunity to pass a few words with Tony this morning, and one of the things that heartens me enormously is his passion for the work that you are all undertaking. So please, a very warm welcome to Professor Haymet.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm very pleased to be at this historic conference, the first of its kind in Australia and Oceania, and one that is held on Aboriginal land. So let me join with Rosie and acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay my respect to their elders. More than respects, on the 3rd of November, I'll join with the Prime Minister and the Minister for Science when they award the Prime Minister's first prize for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge systems. 3rd of November will be a big day. I'm pleased this conference has a special focus on discussions regarding First Nation data, and I will talk more about that in this speech. But I wanted to let you know you've already won several awards, and we've barely begun. This is the first time this meeting's held in Australia. You've won the Chief Scientist's Award for the best morning tea. And believe me, after 8 months, I've had a chance to study this phenomenon. Even though you haven't had it yet, you're going to win the award. And I noticed there's the best booth handout of any conference I've ever been to. It's by our very own Queensland University of Technology, whose Vice-Chancellor is with us. It has little bottles of sunblock or sunscreen. And believe me, in this state, you'll need it. So we've all made a journey to be here, some longer than others, and I want to send out a special welcome to our international guests. We're also all on journeys in our careers, and along the way, scientific partners come and go, helping us to navigate the road. But one partner has stayed with me since university, not just a companion, but a guiding light, and that is respect for the data. Throughout my professional life, data has so often been the bedrock of my work. And today I want to speak with you about its power, its governance, and the tools, skills, and infrastructure that will underpin it in the years ahead. What you do matters, and now matters more than ever. You're not just managing data, you're enabling discovery, and in a very efficient manner. You're helping researchers push boundaries, solve problems faster, and break through barriers that once held them back. You do this because you understand the value of knowledge, and you understand how data can build that knowledge and address significant problems. You might not end up being the ones directly addressing those problems, like climate change or curing diseases, but you are the ones making that work possible because those global challenges rely on data. Like me, I suspect many of you started in research. Like me, many of you earned PhDs and studied deeply in your disciplines. But somewhere along the way, like me, you got hooked, not just on the science, but on the data itself. You saw its potential, its future use, how it could be managed, structured, unlocked, and used. And now you stand at a unique intersection. You understand the science, you understand the data systems relating to it. And that makes you uniquely important at this point in history. I want to spotlight others as well and acknowledge the organisations behind this conference: the International Science Council's Committee on Data, the World Data System, and the Research Data Alliance. I also thank the Australian Research Data Commons for hosting this event here in Australia. The ARDC, as it's known, is more than infrastructure. To me, it's a national enabler of smarter, faster, and more connected research in Australia and globally. Indeed, when data is shared across borders, it accelerates discovery and deepens insight. The data becomes more than a resource, it turns into a force multiplier at a global level. Conferences like this that collaboration and spotlight best practices when it comes to data management. And on that front, ARDC has much to be proud of. I understand the Digital Research Alliance of Canada is evaluating the ARDC Digital Skills Framework. That framework will inform, perhaps, Canada's national workforce strategy in digital research. I also note Australia's stewardship of the Research Activity Identifier, known as RAID, that is now being adopted locally and in Europe. RAID has been described as a digital passport for research projects. It gives each project a unique and persistent ID. That ID links people, data, institutions, and outcomes all in one place. I want to talk now about public data, how it's gathered, managed, shared, and used. Having worked for some years in data-intensive research, I now find myself in a data-focused role of a different kind. As Chief Scientist, I'm a member of the National Data Advisory Council that supports the work of the Australian National Data Commissioner. I congratulate our recently retired National Data Commissioner, Gail Milne, and her team on the work that they are doing. The Council, chaired by Rod Sims, well known to Australians here, provides advice on issues relating to privacy, data protection, the ethics of data sharing, and community expectations, and technical best practice. A number of my remarks today are informed by my association with the National Data Commissioner and members of the Council, including Associate Professor Kalinda Griffiths and Professor Peter Leonard. Kalinda has particular expertise regarding First Nations data and has already taught me a lot. And Peter is a technological and data expert and a lawyer of many years' standing. Coincidentally, Peter and I went to high school together 300 years ago. My work on the Council has shown me how fortunate we are in Australia to have good foundations in place when it comes to the use of public data. That is, information collected, generated and curated by the Australian government. I'm talking here, of course, about de-identified data, data that doesn't identify individuals but does provide overarching insights to help deliver better services to our community. Just by way of context, 3 years ago, the Data Availability and Transparency Act was set up. It helps unlock the value of public data in this country, safely, responsibly, and for the benefit of all Australians. The Act has supported the secure sharing of data between government and a trusted community of accredited researchers. It has helped to shift the mindset from data as a risk to data as a resource that is responsibly shared and used for public good. It was a good act with a sunset clause, and a lot of fine people are working now to make the next version even better. Fortunately, we have strong data platforms and governance in Australia and strong legal frameworks to protect personal privacy. Plus, there is a public awareness that the analysis of de-identified data can help deliver better services that help our communities. Community support is crucial because evidence-based decision-making will be increasingly driven by data linkage projects. In particular, those involving large data sets of public sector data and, where appropriate, private sector data as well. So our laws mean we have strong oversight regarding safe data use, but not all data should be shared the same way. Some needs tight governance, some can be more open. I know today's sessions will explore First Nations data, and I commend the conference organisers for creating spaces for these critical conversations. The NDAC, the body that has a particular focus on data, has created ethical data governance and Indigenous data sovereignty measures. Many of you know some of the activities happening in Geraldton. As scientists and people working with data, we must place an increasingly high priority on those issues. I'm pleased that the Australian government agencies have developed a landmark framework for governance of Indigenous data. It was designed in partnership with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and it says they must be involved at every stage of the data process, in data collection, storage, use, and possible sharing. The framework was published last year, and there is a 7-year plan for government to fully implement all the actions. Programs like this framework reflect growing awareness in the community, government, and in science about Indigenous data sovereignty and about the need to embed Indigenous governance, ethics, and knowledge systems into the core of data and research practice. Finally, these wonderful new data processing tools also demand new infrastructure. Last year, Australia took a significant step forward with the release of the National Digital Research Infrastructure Strategy. The strategy reflects the central role of digital research infrastructure when it comes to scientific discovery. That infrastructure can be wide-ranging. For example, it can include data generated for and through research, plus the highly skilled workforce that can interpret the data. The infrastructure can also include advanced computing, smarter software, and systems that are very secure and very scalable. The strategy charts a course for infrastructure that integrates computing and data. It is a course underpinned by strong training frameworks because infrastructure is only as powerful as the people who use it. And it charts a course that supports science through openly available research software tools. By providing more open access to data and scientific knowledge, we can accelerate innovation. By unlocking data and research, we enable collaboration across disciplines that can support small businesses, startups, researchers, you name it. It can also help support evidence-based policy decisions. Let me close with this. When the world faces complex problems, data is almost always part of the solution. In science, it remains our guiding light that illuminates the path ahead, a light that helps us to understand the challenges we face and to uncover the solutions within our grasp. That is why it's vital to reflect on how data is governed and used, and to invest in the tools and skills that help us use it wisely. I hope my comments today support your conversations about the future of data and how it can continue to serve the public good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Haymet, for those words of inspiration to all of us here this morning, and it's a wonderful way to start our week. Sorry about this to all of our organising committee, but I'm going slightly off script. No surprises. So, bear with me. Our next speaker is Professor Margaret Sheil, AO, from the Australian Academy of Sciences. Now, I will speak to Margaret's bio in just a moment, but forgive me while I take the opportunity to secure a photograph, haven't warned you either, with our two wonderful, wonderful speakers. So, Margaret, if I could ask you to come on stage, and Tony back again. This is all right, isn't it? We know we'll get great mileage out of these. So, make yourself comfortable. There we go. Wonderful. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. And unfortunately, I can't tell you off the top of my head all the right things to mark this up with in social media, but work it out. All right, so back on script again. Thank you for that. So, Professor Margaret Sheil, AO, a distinguished chemist, has made a significant contribution as a leader in the scientific and the university sector, a trailblazer for women in science. So her appointments as Vice-Chancellor and President of the Queensland University of Technology, Chair of the Queensland Museum Network. Throughout her career, Margaret's been a strong advocate for science and for scientists, with a particular emphasis on supporting early career scientists, women researchers, and outstanding scientific mentors. Margaret is the Australian Academy of Sciences Secretary for Science Policy, and I think it's incredibly appropriate with such an international audience to have Margaret join us for a few words as part of this morning's opening session. So with no further ado, over to you, Margaret. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosie. This isn't my favourite lectern because I hope you can see me above it. So I also begin by acknowledging the Turrbal and the Yagra people, who are the First Nations owners of the land where we're meeting today, and also where my institution, QUT, stands across the river. And also, Rosie mentioned the Queensland Museum Network, and which is just opposite here if you have the opportunity to visit the museum, and that's the node of the network we call Kurilpa, which means water rat in the Yagra language. I also acknowledge the colleagues here today, and it's wonderful to see Marcia Langton, from whom I have learnt so much over my career, and also emerging leaders such as Becky Cook from our QUT Data Science, Centre for Data Science. But I'm not here in my QUT capacity, as Rosie said. I'm here as representing the Academy of Science as the Secretary for Science Policy, and bring with that the best wishes of our President Jagadish. And it's great to be able to be part of this International Data Week conference, and thank the Australian Research Data Commons for the work that they've done and putting this together, and the invitation to speak here. The Australian Academy of Science is the custodian of many of the national and international relationships with the global science community, and for 20 years the Academy has enjoyed a rich and productive relationship through our own National Committee for Data Science and through to the International Science Council, which includes the work of CODATA and the World Data System. And the National Committee for Data Science supports data policy, infrastructure and access across science and research, promoting all the things that you're going to be talking about this week around interoperability, usability and the principles of fair and care. The Academy is proud to facilitate this membership on behalf of the Australian research community. It's one of a number of international relationships that the Academy stewards, and it enables us to access resources and provide access for our researchers, and particularly early career researchers, to the global community. So, like Tony, I'm a chemist, and I'm unapologetically someone who really enjoys and is thinking about data and also using data in my daily life and in the development of policy, and that's never been more important than it is today in the age of misinformation and disinformation, that we have really high quality curated data to inform our decisions. In 2025, so just last month, the Academy released its report, Australia's Science Future 2035, which examines with a rich amount of data whether Australia has the national science capability to meet the challenges shaping our economy in the next decade. And you wouldn't be surprised that, like many countries, we've got challenges in terms of the rapid digital transformation, a changing and ageing population, and we will have a shortage of data science unless we address some of the challenges of encouraging more into those professions, and both all the way through the educational pipeline. But we can't do it on our own, so it's wonderful that the Academy has been part of hosting the International Science Council Regional Focal Point for Asia and the Pacific, and to see so many represented from across Asia and Pacific at this conference, and Rosie will acknowledge them shortly, and also to include topics that are relevant not just to that community, including the next session which will follow on Indigenous data governance. And the Academy is very pleased that it can support the regional attendance at the conference. So it's really important that we use data to inform decisions, and I'm preaching to the converted here when talking about that, but it's also important that we use data sensibly and intelligently to ask the right questions. So just to give you a couple of examples, one from QUT with the work that's been done on the Australian Cancer Atlas, which is really informing health policy makers around the different outcomes for cancer, those who experience cancer in different parts of the country. And while we're in a rapid debate here in Australia about the best way to support access to higher education, and there's a lot of focus, quite appropriately, on the disadvantage in in regional areas, and particularly in a state like Queensland, which is highly decentralised, I am constantly reminding people when we have this conversation that the score for social disadvantage, which we in Australia is known as ICSIA to rank the social and educational disadvantage of a high school, is the same for one of the high schools 30 kilometres to our south as it is for one of the regional high schools 500 k's to our west. So it's not just about disadvantage due to physical location, but also due to the surrounding community and many other factors. And so those kind of data points are often very powerful in influencing policymakers to think about what they do. So this is an important event, and I'll look forward to hearing the outcomes. I occasionally, when I open conferences such as these, I really wish I could stay for the whole event, but I can't, sadly, but I will stay for part of the next session, and to celebrate the achievements and hope that you enjoy each other's company and that you enjoy our beautiful city. We're not sorry we got a bit of rain over the weekend because it's been very dry over the last few months, but generally we have beautiful, fine, sunny days. And I hope that you explore some of this great city and also have a really productive, scientific and research-informed week. So enjoy the conference, and we're very pleased that the Academy of Science could have a small part in it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Sheil, for joining us this morning. Before we move on, we're now going to take a moment to recognise and to thank our regional champions. These dedicated individuals have served as the face of International Data Week 2025 within their regions, their countries and their organisations. They've played a vital role in supporting delegates to attend in person and in sharing the many benefits and opportunities of being part of IDW 2025. Now, looking across the room at everyone we've got this morning, I'd say they've succeeded. Fantastic. In something rather challenging now, we're going to invite all of them to come up onto stage and to receive a pin. So the first thing I can see is that the two lists I have here are different. I'm going to stick with this one, but if I miss your name and you are in the room, then please do come up. So the logistics: come up, stand in front of the screen, stay at the stand, stay there, no running off. I'll give you your pin and we'll get another photo. Okay, first up, Natalia Atkins. Liang Lu Hu, Huan Li Wang, Zhu Ziming, everyone together, come on, don't be shy. Pragya Chaub, Devika Madali, Reni Suleiman, Masaki Kanao, Keiko Yoki, Claire Rai, Libby Liggins, Suni Go, Sao Kwang Song, Jeff Shim, keep that applause coming, and the last one, Tian Ray. Marvellous. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Thank you. Whew. Right, that was challenging. Where are we up to? Where are we up to? Oh yes, right. Final words of thanks to the regional champions. Their commitment and outreach, I mean this bit's obvious, completely fundamental to the success of this global gathering. I think we've done lots of thanking, so we'll move on there. All right, next, I mentioned earlier how important it was to have our sponsors with us on this journey, and so today I'm really pleased to invite Sheil, the CEO from Senscience, from Frontiers, our Moreton Island sponsor for IDW 2025, to come to the stage and address us for a couple of moments. Thank you. Sheil, please.
Good morning. So it's a pleasure to be here. I tried to distill some of these facts and figures about the importance of data and the challenge of organizing data into something really simple by going through all the literature and looking at how much data is actually reused and driving new discoveries. And out of every 100 data sets that are created, 80 never leave the lab. Only 4 are ever reused, and just 1 in 100 actually is reused and cited. So that's billions of dollars and decades of work that just we're losing that potential. So I'm actually Sheil, a neuroscientist, and I've been working in data infrastructure and data standards for decades, and now just trying to realize the potential of all of this data in science, taken some time to create a company. And so it's really, to try to express that vision of what is this potential, we created a video, if I can go to the next slide with the clicker, yes.
Discovery fuels progress. It's what science is all about. But most of the data that makes this possible never even leaves the lab. Ideas get buried, breakthroughs stall. What if every data set counted? Every contribution was recognized? What if we could unleash the full potential of all research data? Imagine if every idea could spark the next. Faster cures, more accurate forecasts, clean energy for the world. To get there, science needs new ways to prepare and share data. No data wasted. No opportunity missed. Science unleashed. The next generation of scientific data is here.
So what we're launching today is actually a new platform, Fair Square Data Management, a new service from Frontiers, a open access publisher, that uses AI to provide a data steward to prepare your data and publish it. So I encourage you all to visit us in booth 12, see what we've done. And a lot of this is, of course, built on many years of experience interacting with this community. So it's really great to be here and launching with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheil, and it's wonderful that IDW can be the place to launch this new activity. So thank you to Sheil, and once again, thank you to all of our sponsors. It's incredibly important for us in being able to hold this type of event. Now, I will have some more housekeeping in a moment, but I do have just a sentence or two, or a moment or two, to speak about why this matters to me. This is my third IDW. My first was immediately after COVID in June 2022 in South Korea. The next, I'm sure many of you were at, in Salzburg in 2023. And now we have the enormous privilege of bringing this conference to Australasia for the very first time. That's incredibly special. But why does it matter? Why does it matter that we all come together as a global community to talk about the ways to advance what we do with data, how we share data, how we share it with each other, how we make it findable? What's the governance processes for accessible? How we integrate that data and reuse it, and we've just heard what a small fraction of data is reused. So how, and this is really what ARDC focuses on, how do we change that? How do we make it possible? Why do we want to make it possible? Well, the really simple thing is everyone in this room is in a world facing the same global challenges. And it's that that inspires me when I think about why we come together, why we put the effort in, why we're going to have so many fabulous conversations this week. We come together to share, to learn, to connect, and to advance the journey, the data journey, to solve the big challenges that we also share. That inspires me. And I hope it inspires you as well. Okay, now then. Another thing that's really important is that IDW builds a legacy. So we've got two opportunities for that today. The first, IDW 2025, is proud to support the regeneration of the Great Barrier Reef. We've partnered with the Reef Restoration Foundation, whose core mission is to restore coral reefs, educate others on the importance of our ocean, and use science to further coral research and reef monitoring techniques. You might have donated via the registration form, and if you have, we thank you, but you haven't lost the chance. So there's also an opportunity to donate to a Data Week reef throughout the conference at the registration desk. That brings us to the end of the opening of the conference here. It's wonderful to see so many of us manage to make it for 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Thank you for joining us for the week. I really hope that you have an absolutely fantastic time. And with no further ado, we are going to be heading towards the first plenary session. So I think we just need a wriggle moment while some chairs are brought onto the stage. So we'll be right back.